Welcome to our channel. Today we delve into the dark heart of school lockdowns, exploring 3 spine-chilling true stories that will send shivers down your spine. These aren't just tales whispered in hushed tones, they're real-life accounts of terror that unfolded within the supposedly safe walls of educational institutions. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more terrifying tales. Let the darkness envelop you as we begin. Our first story takes us to a seemingly ordinary high school in the quiet suburbs, where the days are usually predictable and uneventful. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, the leaves outside just beginning to turn vibrant shades of red and gold, painting a picturesque scene that belied the events about to unfold. Students were lost in their textbooks, the rhythmic tapping of keyboards echoing through the hallways, a familiar and comforting sound in the daily routine of school life. Then, without warning, the piercing shrill of the school alarm shattered the peaceful facade, sending a jolt of fear through everyone present. The lights flickered ominously, casting long, dancing shadows across the room, adding to the growing sense of unease. Teachers quickly herded their students into classrooms, locking the doors and drawing the blinds, their faces masks of calm that barely concealed their own anxiety. Whispers of fear and uncertainty rippled through the students huddled together, each one trying to make sense of the sudden chaos. Outside, in the usually bustling hallways, an unsettling silence descended, broken only by the distant sound of sirens approaching, a stark contrast to the normal school day. As minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, rumors began to circulate through the darkness, each one more terrifying than the last. Some students claimed to have seen a shadowy figure lurking near the school gates just before the alarm blared to life, a figure that seemed out of place in their familiar surroundings. Others spoke of strange noises, like muffled footsteps and hushed voices, coming from the other side of the locked classroom door, adding to the growing sense of dread. The air grew thick with tension, every creak of the floorboards sending shivers down their spines, as they waited for any sign of what was happening. Time seemed to stand still, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them, each second feeling like an hour. The teachers tried to maintain order, but even they couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong, their concern evident in their furrowed brows and hushed conversations. Hours crawled by, each one an agonizing wait for answers, the students' anxiety growing with each passing moment. The silence was finally broken by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching their classroom door, followed by a sharp knock that echoed through the room. Every eye in the room darted towards the door, their hearts pounding in their chests, the fear palpable in the air. A collective gasp swept through the room as the door slowly creaked open, revealing a group of police officers, their presence both a relief and a confirmation of the seriousness of the situation. The officers quickly ushered the terrified students out of the classroom and into the hallway, their authoritative voices providing a semblance of order amidst the chaos. Students clung to each other for support as they were led single file through the darkened hallways, the reality of the situation sinking in with each step. The reality of the situation sunk in. They had been in lockdown, their lives hanging in the balance, all because of a mysterious stranger lurking in the shadows. A figure that would haunt their memories for years to come. Our second story takes us to a sprawling university campus, a place buzzing with the energy of thousands of students, each one chasing their dreams and aspirations. It was a time of new beginnings, of late-night study sessions that stretched into the early hours of the morning, and the promise of a bright future that seemed just within reach. But beneath the veneer of academic pursuit and youthful enthusiasm, a sense of unease began to creep in. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly at first, with whispers of strange occurrences in the university library, a place that should have been a sanctuary of knowledge. Students spoke of feeling uneasy, of an inexplicable chill that would run down their spines, of sensing an unseen presence watching them from the shadowy corners of the stacks, where the light barely reached. Books seemed to fly off shelves without explanation, as if propelled by an invisible hand, their pages rustling like whispers in the dead of night, adding to the growing sense of dread. At first, these incidents were dismissed as pranks or perhaps the campus ghost stories coming to life, tales told to scare freshmen. But as the days turned into weeks, the incidents grew bolder, more frequent and far more unsettling, leaving students and faculty alike on edge. Students reported seeing fleeting shadows darting across the library's upper levels, shadows that seemed to move with a purpose. A pervasive sense of dread began to settle over the campus, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. The once familiar library transformed into a breeding ground for fear and paranoia. Then, one fateful evening, the piercing alarm echoed through the university buildings, shattering the silence and sending waves of panic through the campus. The library, once a haven for learning and quiet reflection, was now the epicenter of a terrifying ordeal. Students scrambled for safety, their textbooks and laptops abandoned on tables in their haste. The library doors were now locked tight, trapping them inside with an unknown entity that seemed to lurk in every shadow. Panic surged through the crowded library as students huddled together, seeking comfort in numbers. The air grew thick with tension, every creak of the old building amplifying their terror and making their hearts race. Hours stretched into an agonizing wait for answers, each minute feeling like an eternity. The silence was finally broken by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching the library doors, a sound that brought both hope and fear. A sharp knock followed, echoing through the tense atmosphere and causing a collective gasp to sweep through the room. The doors slowly creaked open, revealing a group of police officers who had come to their rescue. The officers quickly ushered the terrified students out of the library and into the relative safety of the open courtyard, where they could finally breathe freely. Students clung to each other for support as they were led single file through the darkened corridors, their minds reeling from the night's events. The reality of the situation sunk in. They had been in lockdown, their lives hanging in the balance, all because of an unseen intruder. In the aftermath of that harrowing night, the university campus was never quite the same. The sense of safety and normalcy had been shattered. The once vibrant and bustling campus now carried an air of caution and wariness, a reminder of the unseen intruder that had disrupted their lives. Students and faculty alike would often glance over their shoulders, haunted by the memory of that night. The library, once a symbol of knowledge and enlightenment, had become a place of fear and uncertainty. The events of that night served as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying threats are the ones we cannot see. The unseen intruder had left an indelible mark on the university, a mark that would not soon be forgotten. In the aftermath of that harrowing night, the university campus was never quite the same. The atmosphere had changed, forever altered by the presence of the unseen intruder. Chapter 3. The Phantom Footsteps. Our final story takes us to an elementary school, a place where innocence and laughter should reign supreme, where the walls are usually filled with the joyful echoes of children playing and learning. It was a bright and sunny morning, the air filled with the sounds of children's laughter, the kind of day that seemed perfect in every way. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, a sense of unease began to creep in, like a shadow slowly stretching across the playground. It started subtly, with whispers among the teachers of strange occurrences, hushed conversations in the staff room about things that couldn't be easily explained. They spoke of hearing phantom footsteps echoing through the empty hallways long after the last child had gone home for the day, footsteps that seemed to come from nowhere and go nowhere. Classroom doors, left securely locked, were found mysteriously ajar, as if someone or something had been inside. At first, these incidents were dismissed as pranks or perhaps the wind playing tricks on their minds, a rational explanation for irrational events. But as the days turned into weeks, the incidents grew bolder, more frequent, and far more unsettling, leaving everyone on edge. Teachers reported seeing fleeting shadows darting across the edges of their vision, shadows that seemed to move with a purpose of their own. A pervasive sense of dread began to settle over the school, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. The usually cheerful hallways now echoed with an unsettling silence, broken only by the phantom footsteps that seemed to grow louder with each passing day. Then, one seemingly ordinary afternoon, the piercing shrill of the school alarm shattered the peaceful facade, sending waves of panic through the building. The lights flickered ominously, casting long, dancing shadows across the room, as if the very walls were alive with fear. Teachers quickly herded their students into classrooms, locking the doors and drawing the blinds, trying to create a sense of safety in the midst of chaos. Children, their eyes wide with fear, clung to their teachers, their small bodies trembling, their minds filled with questions they were too afraid to ask. Hours crawled by, each one an agonizing wait for answers, the tension in the air thick enough to cut with a knife. The silence was finally broken by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching their classroom door, followed by a sharp knock that echoed like a gunshot. A collective gasp swept through the room as the door slowly creaked open, revealing a group of police officers, their faces grim and serious. The officers quickly ushered the terrified children out of the classroom and into the relative safety of the school gymnasium, their presence a small comfort in the midst of fear. Children clung to their teachers for support as they were led single file through the darkened hallways, the once familiar surroundings now filled with shadows and fear. The reality of the situation sunk in. They had been in lockdown, their lives hanging in the balance, all because of phantom footsteps that no one could explain. In the aftermath of that harrowing day, the elementary school was never quite the same, the laughter of children forever tinged with a hint of fear, the shadows never fully banished. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these creepy stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. But remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't see. So the next time you're alone in the dark, listen closely, stay safe, and sleep tight.